Blizzard has shut the doors on China, essentially cutting off the entire Chinese player base from their games. How did this happen? That's the burning question on everyone's mind right now. And after we go through all the different statements that have emerged on the internet within the last day or so, I think you guys will have a better understanding of just exactly what's going on. I just want to let everyone know ahead of time that we're going to be doing a lot of reading over statements said by different companies, and I know that that can kind of get a little bit winded, so I just wanted to give you guys a disclaimer. So with that being said, let's get into it. Blizzard Entertainment has put out a statement in which they said that they're going to be suspending services in China on January 23, 2023. This is the deadline for their contract with NetEase. It appears that the two companies have not been able to come to an agreement to renew their contract, which is how Blizzard has been able to provide services to Chinese players. So what services are getting shut off for the Chinese players? The following games are going to be suspended indefinitely in China: World of Warcraft, Hearthstone, Warcraft 3 Reforged, Overwatch, StarCraft, Diablo 3, and Heroes of the Storm. The only Blizzard game which is still going to be available to the Chinese players is Diablo Immortal, because that game was actually developed by NetEase, not Blizzard. So let's look at the original statement that Blizzard put out, which kind of sparked this whole thing. Blizzard Entertainment Inc. announced today that they will be suspending most Blizzard game services in mainland China due to the expiration of the current licensing agreements with NetEase Inc. on January 23, 2023. This includes World of Warcraft, Hearthstone, Warcraft 3, Overwatch, the StarCraft series, Diablo 3, and Heroes of the Storm. Diablo Immortal co-development and publishing is covered under a separate agreement between the two companies. Blizzard Entertainment has had licensing agreements with NetEase since 2008, covering the publication of these Blizzard titles in China. The two parties have not reached a new deal to renew the agreements that is consistent with Blizzard's operating principles and commitments to players and employees, and their agreements are set to expire in January 2023. We will suspend new sales in the coming days, and Chinese players will be receiving details on how this will work soon. Upcoming releases for World of Warcraft Dragonflight, Hearthstone March of the Lich King, and Season 2 of Overwatch 2 will proceed later this year. We're immensely grateful for the passion of our Chinese community has shown through the nearly 20 years we've been bringing our games to China through NetEase and other partners, said Mike Ybarra, president of Blizzard Entertainment. Their enthusiasm and creativity inspire us, and we're looking for alternatives to bring our games back to players in the future. So how did we get here? Well, this issue with the two companies and their renewal contract did make some waves back during Activision's third quarter 2022 financial results, and in that statement they said, "Currently, we have licensing agreements with a third party covering the publication of several Blizzard titles in China. These agreements were contributed approximately 3% of Activision Blizzard's consolidated net revenues in 2021, and it expires in 2023. We are in discussions regarding the renewal of these agreements, but a mutually satisfactory deal may not be reached. We continue to see substantial long-term growth opportunities for our business in the country. The co-development and publishing of Diablo Immortal is covered by a separate long-term agreement." So while China does make up about 3% of the profits for Activision Blizzard as a whole, it should be noted that the Chinese community makes up a significant portion of the player base for World of Warcraft. The game is super popular in China, and it's been like that for years. In fact, you can look at the logs for Classic RAS parses and see that a lot of the guilds there are Chinese. So after Blizzard put out that statement, NetEase put out one of their own to address the concerns, and theirs reads like this. "Dear Blizzard gamers, due to the expiration of Activision Blizzard's licensing agreement with NetEase on January 23rd, Blizzard will discontinue most of its game services in mainland China, including World of Warcraft, Hearthstone, Overwatch, Diablo, StarCraft, and Heroes of the Storm, starting January 24th. Based on the contractual restrictions, while Diablo Immortal services will not be affected." NetEase and Blizzard first partnered in 2008. Over the past 14 years, we have introduced Blizzard's high-quality games to China step by step, starting with World of Warcraft and even synchronizing global releases. Each time the introduction of the game, we are excited because these games also carry our passion and youth. Within NetEase, there are also several thousand hardcore fans of Blizzard games. Therefore, we are more empathetic to the feelings of players at the moment. Before today, we have been doing our best to negotiate with Blizzard in good faith to seek continued cooperation in mainland China. However, after long negotiations, we are still unable to reach an agreement with Activision Blizzard on some key terms of cooperation. Unfortunately, Activision Blizzard has announced earlier today that they are ceasing its cooperation, and we will have to accept this decision. After January 23rd, NetEase will lose its distribution ship and will no longer be able to continue to manage and operate these games that have carried Blizzard's memories for 14 years. Next, NetEase Games will do its best to fulfill its responsibilities and serve players until the last moment. We promise that we will do our best to negotiate with Activision Blizzard to protect the interests of Chinese players to the greatest extent possible for the issues related to refunds, game data, virtual property, game rights, etc. that everyone is concerned about. At the same time, we will work with Activision Blizzard to achieve business-to-business game-to-game, pay attention to the voice of players, value all the players that have paid for the game, and properly protect everyone's game assets and memories. We will continue to inform players of the progress of the work through official channels such as the Blizzard Game Service Center. Once again, we thank all players for their understanding and support. If possible, we hope that Blizzard's departure is only temporary. After the shutdown, we will continue to hold on in our own way and not give up lightly. We believe that these two can meet again. And then following the NetEase statement, Blizzard China put out their own statement. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing again because these are all super long and lengthy. However, I will go over the last thing in their statement. So they say, after the game server is closed, all account data and character data in each game, including but not limited to character data, remaining game time, each game items, materials, subs, paid information, etc., will be sealed. We will properly handle the game data in accordance with the requirements of laws and regulation to protect the legitimate rights and interests of users. For players who have paid but not consumed online game virtual currency and paid game time have not yet been expired, we will start to arrange refunds after Blizzard game products cease to operation. So it sounds to me like they're going to be giving some refunds, and then also they're going to be saving all the data for all of our accounts and characters and stuff like that. So at least they can do that and then, hold on to it. So then, the hope is at some point when Blizzard decides to open negotiations and everything gets turned back on, they'll be able to flip the switch and everyone can get all their stuff back. So finally, we have one last statement, and I know guys, these statements are super boring, but this one's actually pretty interesting. And this one is one that's been kind of turning a lot of heads. So Simon Zhu is the current president of NetEase Global Investment, and he said something really crazy that a lot of people are like freaking out about. But before we read his statement, I just wanted to ask you guys that if you're liking my content so far, please subscribe to my channel and make sure that you ring that notification bell so that you guys can stay up to date and informed about big news stories like this one. So anyways, back to what Simon Zhu says. As a gamer who spent 10,000 hours in World of Warcraft, StarCraft, and Overwatch, I feel so heartbroken as I will not longer have access to my account and memories next year. One day, when what has happened behind the scene can be told, developers and gamers will have a whole new level of understanding of how much damage a jerk can make. Feel terrible for players who lived in those worlds. So it's very strange for someone at this kind of a level to put out a statement like this, but I can for sure understand the frustration because of this whole situation. It's just very weird, and I wonder what he's alluding to. Nobody but those people in the conference rooms can really know the truth of what's going on, and it's impossible to speculate as to what's going on. One thing I don't understand is that while they are shutting the servers down for China, they're still saying things like, yeah, you could still buy Dragonflight and play it for a few months, but after that, nope, sorry. I don't know, it's just weird how the situation is going. It almost seems kind of like a business tactic on Blizzard's end. Sort of like people are playing a game of poker. Like, you don't actually know if the other persons are bluffing or not, and then, you're just hoping that they don't call you on your bluff. But either way, this is just a very sad situation, and I feel really bad for the Chinese players. I can't imagine playing WoW for how long I've played it for, and then someone tells me, like, nope, you can't play it anymore. Hopefully they can come to some kind of an agreement before the cutoff date so that everyone can keep playing uninterrupted. But what are you guys' thoughts about this? Let me know in the comments section, and thanks so much for checking out my video. And just like always guys, I will see you in the next one.